All right, let's talk a little bit about intermittent fasting.
Intermittent fasting.
Intermittent fasting.
Intermittent fasting.
What is intermittent fasting? Well, as the name would clue you in, it's fasting intermittently.
No way.
So intermittent fasting means to be restricting how much you eat during the day over a period of time.
If you can go skip breakfast, have a late lunch, that's a good start. That's what I try to do every day.
So many people commonly go for 16 hours of fasting and may consume food in an 8-hour window. Maybe they'll do 20 hours of fasting and consume food in a 4-hour window, or something along those lines. Is there an advantage to that? Now, many people do use it as a tool to help them with weight loss. Many people feel better. Some people, they feel like they can get into a state of ketosis. Studies are ambivalent about whether or not that actually provides an additional advantage for weight loss over pure calorie restriction. There are some people that would certainly disagree with that. Now, what are some of the considerations that you might want to do with regard to intermittent fasting? Now, certain dietary patterns certainly facilitate going longer periods without consuming food. And so the current standard American diet, which is dependent heavily upon constant snacking and eating a lot of snack food, certainly if you're consuming that sort of diet, you're going to have a real problem with intermittent fasting. And so in general, higher carb diets make intermittent fasting quite difficult. So many people will couple intermittent fasting with low carb diets, ketogenic diets, or even carnivore style diets, and they have a great deal of success for that just because they do better with less hunger and more satiety. So when we are fasting, are there some advantages that are occurring? There are some people that would suggest that there is a process called autophagy, which tends to occur more frequently while we're in a fasting state. And autophagy simply refers to the cells reutilizing and basically breaking down sort of worn out parts of the self. Autophagy simply means eating self. And so what happens is these cells will consume the worn out, broken parts, reutilize the components of that, and build new structures with that. Again, it helps with appetite management. We find that we have limited our time of eating, then a lot of people will spontaneously reduce the number of calories they consume. A lot of people find that it's just convenient. You know, if you've only got to eat once a day or within a small window, the rest of the day you've got a lot of time freed up for other activities. A lot of people spend much of their day thinking about preparing and eating meals. So if you think about the average American consuming food from about 7 a.m. till about 10 p.m., eating almost in a continuous fashion, grazing all day, there's a lot of time spent around food-related activities, which intermittent fasting dramatically limits. All right, please consider liking and subscribing this video if you felt it's provided some value. Click the notification bell so you don't miss any further uploads. Is intermittent fasting safe? That is to say, are you going to have some horrible thing happen to you if you intermittent fast? For most people, the answer is no, not at all. Now, there are some people which have to take caution about this, particularly folks with diabetes that are on medications, because if you're on a lot of medications that are dependent upon you consuming food very frequently, you could risk things like hypoglycemia. And so you just have to be mindful of that. You might need to scale back or remove some of the medications. Do this in conjunction with a healthcare provider to make sure you can do this safely. Generally, it starts with just removing one of your meals. Remove breakfast or remove dinner and work around there. That usually works quite well. It's quite easy to do. Now, things I would recommend is you get enough protein. Again, anytime we're losing weight, we want to maintain lean mass. And so the way to do that is by eating adequate protein. So for reference, somewhere between about 1.6 grams per kilogram would be a nice minimum place to be as far as protein is concerned. That is so that you, again, don't lose lean mass. We want to preserve that stuff while we're fasting. Additionally, if you can, throw some strength training in there. Again, we want to send the signals to our body that we want to preserve the lean mass because it's still useful for us, and we want to get rid of some of that fat mass, which is, clearly not providing us any favors. Okay, one additional thing that I would like to comment on is, you're going to find what works best with you with regard to your schedule, from what time of day, where to place that eating window. But all things being created equal, the majority of the scientific literature would support moving your feeding window to the earlier parts of the day. That is to say, breakfast and lunch, or lunch and early dinner, rather than late feedings. That generally works better for most people. Now, there are exceptions to that. Now, if your schedule doesn't allow for that, you do what you need to do. But in general, that is another tip that I would throw in there. Make sure you stay on top of your hydration. You get electrolytes if you need to, and then you can go from there. Okay, guys, if this video has been helpful for you, please hit the like button, subscribe if you aren't already subscribed, and then turn on notifications so you will be advised of any more videos that are uploaded in the near future. Thank you. Bye-bye.